The greatest philosophical question is quite the title. Only a truly supreme question could ever be granted such a title. But I believe that one question is more than deserving of this title. And that question contains only 4 words, and not one of them is at all complex. Why should I care? That is the question in its most simplistic form. Alternatively, why should anybody care? I believe that this is a truly supreme question. It forces people to construct a foundation for their claims. It forces them to make a rational appeal. It asks them to provide a rational reason. It asks them to provide something which many people are not particularly used to being asked to provide. It slices through dogma, intuition, and irrationality. It forces one to choose. They can either adopt reason and affirm a rational philosophical foundation, or they can look like the irrational fool that they are. I believe that no question is as regularly applicable, stunningly complex, and rationality encouraging as this one. This question is great because it combines 3 attributes. 1. Broad applicability. This question is of great relevance in a hugely diverse range of common situations and philosophical discussions. 2. Stunning complexity. This question may seem simple at face value, but relates to many very complex philosophical topics. One will discover this the moment one starts unpacking it. 3. Rationality encouraging. This question encourages one to be rational. It encourages one to ask what rationality is, where it comes from, what purpose it serves, and what obligations and imperatives accompany it. The great attributes of this question may well not be limited strictly to 3, but these 3 do stand out and contribute greatly to the status of this question. This question is a question like no other. So simple, yet so complex. So philosophically significant, and so generally applicable. 100 irrational worldviews crumble before it. The irrational tremble at the very thought of it. It is philosophical dynamite. It will reduce many a claim, many an ideology, many a morality, many a worldview, and many a philosophy to a smouldering heap. It will reveal the irrationality, dogma, and intuition that permeates so many claims, ideologies, moralities, worldviews, and philosophies. It will force even the most irrational to attempt to reason. It is a truly great question. Simply ask, why should I care? Simply ask, why should anybody care? Simply ask the question that demolishes most claims in an instant. Confronted with this question, few philosophical systems stand for long. Confronted with this question, they are given a choice: be rational or be destroyed. For one requires rationality to issue an adequate answer, and without an adequate answer, one's irrational claim will crumble into an unrecognizable heap. Why should I care is a core foundational philosophical question. It forces us to be rational. It forces us to contend with a great many massive philosophical questions. The massive philosophical questions that can be brought to attention by this simple question are too numerous to be summarized in a text smaller than a dictionary. One such example is the meaning of life. Why should I care requires one to consider the meaning of life. How can one tell another why they should care without having some conception of a meaning of life to appeal to? Unlike the simple question, what is the meaning of life, however, the question, why should I care, can be used as a response to any philosophical claim to make it suddenly remember that it needs a foundation. Very often it does not have one, and will promptly collapse. This simple question is constantly relevant, unmatched in its capacity to encourage rationality, and closely connected to countless big philosophical questions. It is more than deserving of the title, the greatest philosophical question of all time. And who would have known that such a simple question could deserve such a title? But sometimes it is the smallest and most simple questions that manage to dominate the largest and most complex of matters. There is no better question to ask yourself. There is no better question to ask another. It should be uttered with great regularity, for it is essential often, and relevant always. No claim should be made, no idea should be posited, no morality should be promoted, no ideology advocated, no worldview espoused, no philosophy established, without that dreaded question being asked. When seeking to answer the question, why should I care, or why should anybody care, one is forced to consider the meaning of life and the nature of morality, the nature of rationality, the nature of obligations, the nature of justice, the nature of the human condition, the idea of epistemology, and so much more. This question closely connects a million essential philosophical questions with 4 simple words. It brings a million great questions to mind and forces one to be the most rational individual that they can be. It forces one to contend with a million difficult questions. It forces one to engage in reasoning. It forces one to find a foundation for their views, or to abandon them. It is deserving of the title, the greatest philosophical question of all time.